And finally, the Most Reverend Blase Cupich, Bishop of Spokane, ordained to the priesthood in August 16th, 1975, and has been bishop here in Spokane since the summer of 2010.
Well, I've been asked to address this topic from the perspective of moral concerns, moral theology, and there are just 3 points that I want to make, but then fold that into another way in which we need to consider the morality of this very searing topic. As Father Kevin Waters indicated, we come from a tradition that has a fundamental respect for human dignity, that each of us are made in the image of God. And life is a gift from God. No one can take that. And if the state feels it has to do that to protect society, then of course that is another situation. But we have seen that in this country in particular, especially as Dick mentioned, there really is no need for the death penalty to protect human life. Even the prison population can be protected. And of course, by incarceration, the rest of the population can be protected. So our starting point is that fundamental defense of the dignity of human life. But we also approach it from the standpoint of realizing that each one of us are on a journey. And not only are those who commit terrible crimes on a journey, but so are each one of us. And what happens to a society, to a people, when they lack of respect for human dignity in whatever form, it begins to erode in the consciousness of society a respect for human dignity. We have seen that over the years with the treatment of women in rape cases, where in fact women have had to even justify themselves for maybe saying things or dressing in a certain way, as though they didn't have any rights because of that. Until we confronted how that was eroding, that attitude, eroding human dignity as it applied to women, we were not, as a society, ready to make changes. So we need to see what's happening to our society with the death penalty. Why is it that we are one of the most violent societies in the first world? Is it because we don't respect human dignity in so many different ways, through violence, a lack of gun control, our entertainment world and our culture, and the death penalty, and the taking, from our standpoint too, of the child in the womb? For us, that's a consistent life ethic. And finally, I think it's important to remember, as was alluded to by Dick, the prison officials aren't the ones who carry out the death penalty. We do. We're a representative government. Each one of us has to ask the question as citizens, would I be willing to administer the drug that kills someone, to pull the plug, to electrocute someone? It is each one of us who has to ask that question. We're a representative government. We're not a totalitarian regime. Each one of us are part of that decision, and we can't escape it. Now, as I mentioned, these 3 reasons we can all understand and talk about in a theoretical way. But I have been convinced over and over again that there really is no moral theology done unless we know the lives of people that we're talking about, because it becomes so very abstract. That's why it's important to hear the stories of Victoria and Jason about their own experiences firsthand. I have one, having lived in South Dakota for 12 years. There was a terrible murder a young man was tortured, beaten, bottles were thrown at him by 3 guys who were terribly drunk on methamphetamines and alcohol, tortured him terribly. They were all caught. The oldest one, who was a ringleader, was given a choice, as were the others, of how they were going to be tried. He decided to be tried by a jury, and he got life imprisonment. The other 2 thought they would have a better chance going before a judge. They got the death penalty. Same crime. And the youngest one, who was least responsible, was one of the 2 who went before the judge. We pleaded with him to appeal his case, like the other one who got the death penalty, but he didn't want to. He said his life was trash. Why was it trash? Because ever since he was 6 years old, his mother would pass him around to her Johns to be abused sexually. He never lived in any one place for more than 6 months. His mother was on drugs. His life was trash. He wanted to die. And the state went ahead and complied with his wish. But not until, in fact, it all had to stop because the cocktail that was going to put him to death wasn't the right one. And so at the last minute, he had a reprieve. But he still wanted to die. And so the state went ahead and did it. And as I told the people in South Dakota, the people in the prison didn't do it, the governor didn't do it, we did it. And we have to own that. And the more we tell those stories, and the more we take a responsibility, that's when we will have the hope of some change.